right, welcome back everyone, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that break, hope you were able to take a moment to settle yourselves as we get ready for the final best of 3 here of the qualifier. It all ends here, it all ends in this final series, in this ZvP between these two amazing players, some of the best that Europe has to offer, and spawning in the top left hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the German Protoss player, the blue Protoss, representing Berlin International Gaming. It is ShoWTimE. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have going for a 15-15. We have the Italian Zerg player, the red Zerg, representing Team Basilisk. It is Reynor. Here we go, and you know what? We have been lacking, we've had a bit of a shaky qualifier, you know, with like some disconnects and some disjointed series here and there, so it's been a little bit messy, but now that we have one series left, predictions. Yeah, predictions will be open in the chat for our final series, where it all does end. Safer in the chat, predictions are open. Best of luck. Good luck, everyone. Place your bets on who you think is going to be able to take it and who makes it all the way to the main event. Up to you. Up to you to decide. Been a bit of a longer broadcast here today. We've reached the 4-hour mark and we've got potentially another hour ahead of us. Potentially. Let's go. Oh my god. Like, usually I'm full of energy, but yeah, these past couple of days I just haven't been sleeping well. Haven't been sleeping much. That's what I should say. It's like I've been sleeping like 4 or 5 hours max, and it's hitting me now that we're reaching the late hours here of Australia. It's not good, not good. But regardless, we're getting into this so far. Gonna be a 15-15 out of Reynor, getting his natural base where he wanted it to be, getting into his gases soon thereafter, getting into his opener of choice. Likewise, ShoWTimE going for a gate expand as well. Nothing too wild, nothing too crazy. Again, kind of the biggest things that have happened so far is the fact that Reynor was able to expand at his natural base. Otherwise, he would have been forced to expand elsewhere, and it would have made things a little bit more awkward, especially against a Twilight Council-based opener. But it's ShoWTimE, so he's going for a Stargate, as to be expected. And I'm looking forward to this quote-unquote ShoWTimE style. Now, what ShoWTimE does typically do in this matchup, not every game, but usually, is to go into a triple, sometimes even quadruple Oracle opener into a third base, into a delayed Twilight Council, where you go for a faster Forge and Robo to get into +1 and Immortal production really early on, and then into a delayed Twilight Council into eventually our gateway-based upgrades. The reason why we will do this is because ShoWTimE does play a very tech-heavy and defensive style, where he doesn't need charge, doesn't need blink, because he's not going to use it. It's going to stay at home. So that's usually how he approaches this. Not every game, but I expect that to occur at some point in this series. Whether it's Game 1, Game 2, or Game 3, I expect it at some point. But we'll see how we start. For now, Oracle first. Oracle into a third. Everything is looking normal. Everything is looking as it should. But everything will soon change once we get our tech of choice. Once we get into our follow-up tech buildings. For now, Adept's going to be threading a shade towards a natural. Being quite active here, keeping Reynor on his toes as we have the Oracle on the way. Again, ShoWTimE notoriously has quite solid Oracle control. And we're reaching the later hours of the night though, so hopefully he's still with us. I'm sure. What time is it in Europa? It's like what? Like 8 p.m? 7 p.m? Something like that? This is fine. It's fine. Oh, we're back. Zugo, the first Oracle, does join up with the second. Going to be heading into that natural. No spores, but we have plenty of queens in position, so far Reynor hasn't really lost much of anything. Really good positioning so far from our Zerg player. Likewise, behind this we have our tech of choice, and it is going to be a Forge and a Twilight Council alongside it. We're not going for that kind of delayed Twilight Council style. Again, not yet, not in game 1, Something that looks very standard here from ShoWTimE. Ooh, will he go into charge though? I'm curious. I hope he will. Because Reynor is going for +1 melee. +1 melee is on the way. You know what I see? I see a lack of Roach Warren. This looks like Ling Hydra. Looks to be Ling Hydra, but we'll see. For now, just staying on a very Ling heavy composition, which is ideal against Blink Stalkers, less so against Charge Lots. And there it is. Charge Lot Archon is going to be on the way for ShoWTimE. The Oracles dip in. I think they get 1 drone. No, not even. So far, 0 workers have gone down. We get a surround. The Adepts are being caught out. A nice catch here from Reynor. We'll clean up the Adepts at least. We do have the follow-up. Templar Archives is now on the way. That's for Archon production, of course. And thankfully, Reynor is going for a Roach Warren. It is a delayed Roach Warren, but a Roach Warren nonetheless from Reynor. He was able to scout the unit composition. He was able to, more importantly, see the lack of Stalkers. And should be working on those Roaches momentarily. So good reaction here out of ShoWTimE. Sorry, out of Reynor. ShoWTimE still looking for damage. Still yet to find much. Killed Lings, yes, but hasn't killed any drones, which is pretty surprising. There we go. We go for a dive. Finally, a couple of workers are going to be going down. We do take some hull damage, but it's going to be 2 dead workers, and we come back in. Almost getting a 3rd. You know, Lings go for a run by. The wall is a wall. Charge not quite finishing, but upon seeing all these zealots, you don't make zealots unless you intend to invest into charge. We are aware. Ooh, and that's an infestation bit. We have options. Against Shasha Archon, are we tempted to... I don't know. Okay, Roach Speed is on the way. I was going to say, are we tempted to go Swarmhost? Swarmhost can work quite well against this, but this is also a late infestation bit, so Swarmhost would have already been seen by now. And yeah, we need Roaches more than anything because we are going for a push. Here we go. We have our 2 Archons, we have plenty of Zealots, we have a couple of Sentries of Force Fields. It's a very, very terrifying push here from ShoWTimE. But Reynor, he does see it ahead of time, and he's been amassing Roaches for the past couple of moments here. Queens are repositioning as well. ShoWTimE, he's trying to find some damage here. Doesn't really find much though, but he will be able to get into the mineral line. Stage traps are being thrown down. So far, they get baited. Nice control out of Reynor. Meanwhile, Zealots getting into the mineral line. Drones are going down. And we get another big warping of Zealots. Nice force fields. Where are the Ravagers? No Ravagers, no Biles. And we will get a kill in this space. Big stage trap goes off as well. ShoWTimE taking a great fight here, but now he has to recall the hell out of here. Recall back home. And can we save the Archon? Yeah, we should be able to. So a very nice fight here. Very nice trade for ShoWTimE. He killed the base. He was able to kill how many drones? 12 workers in total. He's forcing a counterattack. A counterattack that he's safe against. Immortals, Archons, Charge Lots. Soon to be Storm, soon to be +2. Right now, there's a lot of pressure on Reynor. He does get 1 Oracle. Big overextension from ShoWTimE. But we do have our tech of choice, Spire. Spire is on the way, so a Mutaswitch could really catch ShoWTimE off guard. We have Vipers in production. The Hive is already done for Reynor. Here we go, going for a bit of a split push. He's got Lings on the right, he's got Roaches on the left. ShoWTimE is keeping up. We're trying to. Oh. Zealots are caught out. A lot of them getting shaved off. Things pushing towards the left. Basically, the armies of Reynor did kind of rotate between themselves. We're able to snipe a shield battery. Spire so far unscouted. Zealots get into the natural, but we have plenty of links to defend. We will clean this up. Meanwhile, the Spire has been spotted. And now we know. Now the question becomes, oof, as the Prism does get sniped. Do we go into Mutas or are we just going straight Brutes? Because that is a greater Spire now on the way. Was this scouted? I believe it was. Was scouted by ShoWTimE. Cannons and shield batteries are on the way. It looks like ShoWTimE is getting ready for potentially mutas. Oh no, never mind. He doesn't care. Hopefully he saw the Spire. That's what I'm a little bit concerned about. Because the Spire was kind of hidden underneath like some of these overlords and the Queen. I'm hoping we took notice. Yeah, there we go. Blink is on the way. That will help. It will give an answer to even if we did go into Broodlords. Not the best answer, but an answer nonetheless. And it's crashing some of the Zealots. And they're going to be pulling back. At the same time, on the right-hand side, he could try to go straight for the mineral line. There is a storm available. Just be very wary of it. Let's see what's inside Templar. Oh god! Big storm. ShoWTimE does pull back in time. Maybe they crash into those Zealots. But Reynor, yeah, stuck with a Roach Ravager army. The Corruptors are now on the way for Broodlord. That's what we've been really waiting for. ShoWTimE does have a Death Bull of an army though, and can he hit before the Broodlords spawn in? There it is. 5 Broodlords are on the way. Reynor, it looks like he's going for a backstab at the same time. A bit of a pseudo-base trade, but ShoWTimE is turning back around. Oh. He will kill a base, and can he protect his own? It looks like he will. And it's also going to be wreaking havoc in between the bases. This Nexus will survive, and ShoWTimE will get a kill on the base of Reynor. Broodlords have arrived. We have +1 air attack, fleet beacon. The Skytoss transition feels a little bit late. Not gonna lie. If we wanted to work towards Skytoss, then when we saw the Spire earlier would have been the ideal moment for it. But now we are a little bit behind. And pushing on the right-hand side where there happens to be an army of ShoWTimE. A split force. Storm grazes the army, forcing back Reynor. Once again, base on left-hand side is going to be denied. I'm afraid to look. How many broods do we have? We have 8 Broodlords, soon to be 10. Meanwhile, we have a full wall of spine crawlers here protecting the left-hand side. Broodlords, they do dive on top of this army as well. Ultra Cavern on the way, second Spire as well. We're diving on top of the Broodlords, but do we have enough anti-air? We get what we get to. We do have enough anti-air. Apparently we do. Just barely. Sludge Transfuse punishing the dive. At the same time, Yoink's going to be coming in. Expensive losses here for ShoWTimE. Likewise, Broodlords bullying back the army. Getting another Stalker, but here come reinforcements. Reynor has to be careful to overextend. We need to calm down. Kindness plating is on the way for those Ultras. +1 air attack, +1 air or flyer carapace on the way as well. Now the question becomes, can ShoWTimE get into those Tempests? We're starting Tempest production, that is true. But can ShoWTimE hit critical mass while keeping Reynor pinned back at home? It's a big window where ShoWTimE doesn't really have much Skytoss to work with, where Reynor straight up has the better army. And there we go, Reynor. He's going to be consolidating his entire army on the right-hand side. He's dedicating to this push. He catches the High Templar. Gets one. Storm connects, but looks like there's only one High Templar left in this army. Reynor coming in from the left-hand side. Gets a big surround. And Reynor, he catches ShoWTimE out. At the same time, he does have his own secondary army pushing in. Nice feedbacks. But this next is going to be falling, and ShoWTimE, can he break through? It looks like he should be able to. But this is a costly trade. Big storms here in the mineral line. We're storming as much as we can, but we're going to be losing everything. Knight Templar. 1 escapes. 1 Knight Templar, 1 Immortal, 2 Stalkers. And Reynor, he's in the driver's seat. Yeah, it looks like ShoWTimE was able to survive and hold on for quite some time. But this Skytoss transition was too little too late. And more side defenses on the way. Five Ultras, our Broodlords, of course. Should be getting some Corruptors for some anti-air. So we are down to 2 Tempests. Reynor once again going for a split push. Trying to come across this base. Kind of splitting is done. Oh, I'm gonna have to back up. I just realized we are missing +3. There it is. +3 carapace now on the way. To really round up these upgrades. Now, these Tempests will complicate things. Where are our Corruptors? We don't really have any. So yeah, these Tempests, they could kind of reign free a little bit here, but we don't really know that we are lacking Corruptors. Meanwhile, Bailings, they roll into the mineral line. They get in. They will crash in. 12 probes go down. Ultras aren't really achieving too much, but they zone back to the ground army. Getting some big swipes here on these Stalkers. 14 probes will go down. Behind this, Reynor is just reinvesting into more Ultras and some Infestors for fungal growths. Or even Neural? Do we have it? No, no Neural. That's 8 Infestors on the way. Just double checking. Yeah, we don't have any Neural, unfortunately. If we did have Neural, that could be an answer to these Tempests. It could be. Revelation going to be going on. I kind of wish the Broodlords were on the right-hand side instead. I guess I have their place. So we lock down the army. Dive in with these broods. And then we do take down one of those bases. Like, bank-wise, ShoWTimE, he's now accumulating one. Now that he's got Tempest out, he hasn't been losing as much. Trading very efficiently, getting another Broodlord, another 2. Now we have Neural on the way. This is where we have to be a little bit critical of Reynor. He's doing well for himself throughout most of this game, which is true. But he has been neglecting his anti-air, and there we go. 6 more Corruptors on the way. Finally, he has an answer to these Tempests. They've just been bullying him these past couple of minutes. No, soon to have Corruptors there. V3 is on the way. We get a couple of Corruptors. We get a Viper as well. So it looks like Reynor's at least going to be able to take control of the right-hand side. Using up most of those immortals. Big fungal as well, revealing the army. A good way to make use of that fungal. Meanwhile, it looks like ShoWTimE is gaining ground on the right-hand side. Uh-oh. He can't really contest against this Spine Forest, but he can definitely threaten that hatchery. And Reynor has been trading a little bit worse recently. Like, he's been losing a lot of Brood Lords, rebuilding his Corruptor count, which is quite expensive. And ShoWTimE is very much so in this. Looking at his army composition as well, it's really interesting. He's got 6 Tempests, but outside of that, he hasn't gone into like carrier production or Void Rays, which is really interesting to me. I don't see a reason not to, other than, of course, not putting all your eggs in one basket and forcing out like Mass Corruptor, but with good enough Archons and Storm to support, like, he should be okay. Game is going to be slowing down. ShoWTimE looking to take one of Reynor's bases. This is wild. Reynor cannot allow this base to get up and running. How many Broodlords are we down to? 8. 8 Broodlords. A lot of Corruptors. 10 of them. Reynor, he has to reinforce. Coming in with those Infestors. Remember, Neural is researched. We can try to neural the army. Here we go, we're pushing in. Lords on the side defense. Ultra zoning back those High Templar. At the same time, though, ShoWTimE also pushing onto one of the mining bases here. Reynor, the base is going to be going down. A lot of drones are falling. At the same time, another Link counterattack. A bit of chaos going on here on both sides. Meanwhile, the Nexus will fall for Reynor. At the same time, though, Reynor also loses the hatchery as well, alongside 14 probes, 14 drones. ShoWTimE is pushing on right-hand side. Good storms on the Bailings, on the Lings. Yeah, this split pushing here of ShoWTimE has been really successful. Denying base after base, keeping Reynor in check. And Reynor, he's running out of money. Unironically, like, his natural's empty, he's got 1 mineral patch left at his 3rd, his 4th has a handful of patches, his 5th likewise is not as fresh as it once was. And ShoWTimE is taking fresh bases for himself. He's chilling. Big chilling time. Reynor needs to get the space up and running. If he doesn't, then he will just starve out. It's going to just be a battle of attrition. And we're looking for a neural. Whatever of these Broodlords we can. Good. Do you get a fungal? As we try to dive in. Where are the Archons, by the way? We get 1, we get 2, we get 3 of those Tempests. And we're going to keep on pushing. We're going to shut down every single Tempest at the same time. Mass Neural on the right-hand side. Reynor taking a massive fight. Stalkers coming in to reinforce. We get on top of those Infestors. The Neural runs out. Uh-oh. Neural has run out, and even though on the left-hand side we have reset the Tempest count, what about the ground army? That's the real question. What about the Immortals, the Archons, the Stalkers? We got 28 drones. Corruptor's going to be coming in. Not enough money for many of those, or for many Broodlords. Mothership goes down. You can see Reynor overextending a little bit here. He's going to be losing his Infestors, the Ultras as well, and it looks like ShoWTimE has done it. He's broken through. We have so much supply in these Corruptors, and they're not helping. They're not a part of this fight whatsoever. GG gets called, and ShoWTimE, after 25 minutes, whittles away at Reynor and will take game number 1. Ooh, GG. Oh my god. Things initially were looking in favor of Reynor. Remember, Reynor, he was the one that was able to get into Broodlords first. First went into Broodlords, into Hive Tech. And he was also trading more efficiently for the first half. The first, maybe even 3/4. But when we finally got the Tempest out, then we could pick off Broodlord after Broodlord. Vipers as well, trading. The split pushing from ShoWTimE was achieving so much. Achieving so much and doing so much to Reynor as well. And yeah, it was really well done. Really solid game out of ShoWTimE, able to turn water into wine towards the end there. And Reynor is in quite a bit of trouble. It's a best of 3. 1 game here, 1 more loss. It's going to be a win for ShoWTimE. It's going to be a qualifying spot for ShoWTimE. But I don't expect this game to go on for too long. I'll be honest. I don't expect this to go the distance like we saw in game number 1. Game 2 is going to be on hard lead. Very short rush distance by ground. Oh boy. I can already see the queen. I can see the queen walk. I can see it coming, Papi. I can see it coming. Oh god. We'll see. We'll see how aggressive Reynor plans on being here. We'll see how defensive ShoWTimE plans on being as well. It looks like we're going to be getting a small break though. Reynor is asking for a moment, and especially after a really long game like that, especially after late game ZvZ against Wayne, it's understandable. Reynor, he needs a little bit of time to himself, so we're going to be going on a short break. When we return, we will have game number 2. We'll be back soon. Massage your Marines, Papi. Yes, the Cyber John. Aye. We'll see you soon. And we are back. Whew. Again, just a short break to recover after a very intense, very late game number 1. And now we're here with game number 2. It all ends, or it could all end, on hard lead. Here we go. Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the German Protoss player representing Berlin International Gaming. It is ShoWTimE. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, going for a 15 hatch once again, 2 games in a row, we have the Italian Zerg player representing Team Basilisk. It is Reynor. Here we go. Probe of ShoWTimE is being sent out to force the unnatural natural. Meanwhile, Reynor going to be able to get his hatchery on location because of that 15 hatchery, because of the extractor trick. That is the purpose of the opener of Reynor, is to be able to expand where he wants it to be. Expand without too much issue. So it should be, again, 15 hatchery into a 15 spawning pool. The same opener that Reynor went for in game number 1. Now, talking a little bit about the map, just because our openers are pretty stock standard. Talking a little bit about the map, Russia's despite ground on hard lead is very short, and it has been very, very common for Zerg players to go for 3 base all-ins, or I say 3 base all-ins, cutting workers early on, like at around 50, maybe at 60, maybe at 66 at most. You cut worker production, you take this triangular third base as well to launch creep across the map, and then you can go for either just a straight up queen walk, you can go for a bit of a German taxi and just load up your queens into overlords and send them out instead, alongside Lings and Roaches, of course. And yeah, we have just seen so many all-ins on hard lead. So I'm curious to see if Reynor embraces it. We've seen Reynor do it a lot as well. Reynor, he's very fond of it whenever he can get away with it. But in saying that, he is down in this series, and it is a best of 3, so is Reynor willing to risk it on an aggressive build? Is he willing to put it all on the line on something a little bit cheesier, or, again, just very in the face of the Protoss? We'll see. We'll see if he's willing to embrace that. Meanwhile, I imagine on a map like hard lead that ShoWTimE would be one to go for something like a delayed Twilight Council. We spoke about it in the last game. We spoke about it at the start of the series about how, like, oh, ShoWTimE, he loves going for like a Forge Robo follow-up after the third, after the Stargate. And this is true. And I feel like this is a good map for it if we were to, you know, head in that direction, just because it does allow you to get into faster Immortal production and into just a faster, just a more secure 3-base setup as well, just because it is so defensive. And we'll see. We'll see what kind of dynamic we have as the first adept gets across the map. Okay, this could still go in either direction. We're getting there. We are getting there. So now Adepts are going to be moving out. We do have our, of course, Oracle opener into a third base as well. Into our third base. As ShoWTimE is moving out with that first Oracle. We saw in game 1 that ShoWTimE actually didn't really kill too many drones. I think he killed 3 with his Oracles, like 3 workers at most. So he wasn't really too successful in the early game. That's why I mentioned before that Reynor did have the stronger early game. Like in the early to mid game, Reynor was the player in control, and that slowly slipped away from him just because of how efficient ShoWTimE was. And again, his ability to eventually get into that Sky Toss was able to snowball out of control from there. As for now, we're going to be threatening Shades. We're not really committing into anything yet. We do have our first 2 Oracles in the field. Third one is on the way. Third base is being taken, and we should soon be seeing our follow-up tech. And that's what I'm really curious about. That is going to be the first big tell for how ShoWTimE wants to approach this. Meanwhile, we're reaching the 5-minute mark, and we still don't see any Roach Warren, so it looks like Reynor is taking a more macro-oriented approach here. He's just droning. And there it is. Forge and Twilight Council is on the way. Oracles dip in. They're going to get a couple of drones here. 3 workers go down. Nice pickoffs from ShoWTimE. Very nice. I mean, when it comes to the Forge Twilight Council, very similar to the last game. +1 and Charge was on the horizon for ShoWTimE in game 1. Here he can go +1 and Charge again, or he can go into Blink. Either or. Either or. There it is. Blink is going to be on the way. A handful of gateways as well. Going to be 4 gate blinks so far for ShoWTimE. Building up on 2 bases. Meanwhile, we do have a Roach Warren on the way for Reynor. This is around a 5-minute 30 Roach Warren. So quite a bit later actually. So not very aggressive at all. We're embracing a later game. Oh, let's go. Meanwhile, my apologies as... Wait, did we scout the Roach Warren? We did. We do have eyes on the Roach Warren. But we cancel Blink and we're going to charge. So ShoWTimE is just going to be shifting gears. Shifting gears entirely. Things are going to be backing up. And just like the previous game, ShoWTimE is going to be able to hit a window. There's going to be a timing where he can come in with his Warp Prism. I'm assuming it's going to be a Warp, like maybe an Observer into Prism or Prism into Observer. From ShoWTimE into 2 Archons and a mass charge that warp in. Let's move out across the map. Reynor going into a fast infestation pit. Interesting choice. Going for the pit. There's that gateway explosion. There's our first handful of Archons. 4th base soon to be taken. Ooh, and we are not pushing, by the way. Instead of moving out with our army, instead of hitting a timing with +1, as we do get a couple more drones, but instead of hitting a timing with this upgrade, we set up the follow-up tech. Storm is on the way, and Immortal production has commenced. So ShoWTimE just taking a very defensive position here. Meanwhile, Reynor with that fast infestation bit, fast hive, fast hydrogen, fast lunkers. I like this a lot more out of Reynor. So Reynor, he's kind of cutting corners and he's racing his way into Hydro Lurker Viper. And because of ShoWTimE's defensive position, because of his defensive playstyle this game, Reynor, he's getting away with it. He's getting away with taking up very quickly into lurkers. ShoWTimE isn't going to touch him anytime soon. There's no way he moves out without Storm. And even with Storm, he may just chill back at home and max out. So, yeah, Reynor doing a really great job at identifying the playstyle of ShoWTimE and taking advantage of it. As a result, Reynor will be able to get into a superior army faster. So now I have to worry a little bit for ShoWTimE. Now, even though Hydro Lurker Viper is like the anti-ground toss composition, you can still make this work. Like Archon Immortal Storm, it can work against a low amount of lurkers, that is true, but at a certain point you hit critical mass, and not just lurkers but also Viper production as well, and it is something that is very difficult to surpass. Big contamination on the Forge! Oh my god. But there's the War Prism on the way. This is our sign. Prism is on the way, which means we should soon be pushing. The army hasn't spotted. The Hydras have been spotted. Good time. Aware of what's been going on. Observer gets picked off. ShoWTimE just chilling, taking a 5th here. And I appreciate this a lot more. +1 air attack. A much faster transition into Sky Toss. Now, before I get ahead of myself, +1 air attack is on the way, which is good for a later game. Before that, 2nd Robo. Double Robo Immortal production. That is a way to deal with some lurkers. Nidus is on the way. Lurkers are going to be pushing. So ShoWTimE, he's kind of starting the foundation of Sky Toss, but he's not really investing into it yet. Doesn't want to get ahead of himself. As there it is, there's that fleet beacon on the way. Basically, the goal here for ShoWTimE is not to push out, it is to absorb the attacks. It's to like absorb and weather the storm of Reynor. With his own storms, ideally. And be able to just go with the punches, go with the flow until he can get into Sky Toss. Big Scout comes in, gets eyes on The fleet beacon, the stargates. Reynor, he's aware of the sky toss. Going for a Nidus into the natural, has been spotted, I believe. Yeah. Has been spotted as ShoWTimE does threaten to move out. Ooh, the Nidus does finish. ShoWTimE taking this too lightly, not going for a warp in. Big spine shot's going to be going off, and we take down 13 probes in the blink of an eye. ShoWTimE a little bit lax here in his defense. Did not take it seriously enough. We are going to try to deal with this, though, as the Zealots are going to be diving on in, but they're taking so many spines to the face. Big storm at the same time. Reynor's main army is forced back, and we do clean up every single lurker. That was 11 lurkers going down. 11 lurkers for 15 probes. Suddenly, I'm not loving that trade from Reynor, not gonna lie. Not amazing. Are the overseer? Was an expensive trade. We're rebuilding that lurker army. Nidus into the main base. ShoWTimE does see it. Is warping in this time. And responding with the rest of his army. There it is. 2 immortals at a time, plus 2 air attacks. Still no sky toss, not yet. But Reynor, upon seeing all those stargates, we have 2 spires on the way, so he's going to be working towards those corruptor upgrades a lot faster as well. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, big revelation, but the Lunkers are looking to zone ShoWTimE away from this base. Reynor has the high ground. ShoWTimE recognizes that, so he just ignores the lurkers and he's going for a counterattack. He's hoping to trade a base for a base. Big storms on the left-hand side, and Reynor, he has to turn back around. Ooh, and this is brutal. Reynor, he was threatening to kill 1 Nexus, but he's going to be losing 2 hatcheries. Okay, there we go. ShoWTimE, he does back off. Doesn't want to overextend. Speaking of, 1 immortal gets surrounded. Oof. Brutal loss there for ShoWTimE. He gets 14 worker kills. Kills the hatchery. And he could look to just recall back home, but just kiting his heart out. Other storms. Expensive losses there. High Templar go down. We can see Reynor rotate over. He still wants to kill this base. Did lose 1, but is looking to kill 1 of his own. Could even get the mineral line. Yeah, he's going for the probes. At the same time, lurkers pushing through the center. And ShoWTimE's being pulled apart. He just cannot keep up, or he's really struggling to. It's going to be a kill, not a cancel. Carriers are coming out. Now, once again, I do think that in a head-to-head fight, ShoWTimE could probably win. If both armies had to clash, but we can see that Reynor, he's just going for these split pushes. Pulling ShoWTimE left and right. Pulling him apart, but... yeah, as we can see, Reynor slowly breaking through here. On the right-hand side is being forced back towards the left. It looks like we will clean up all these lurkers. Good cleanup here from ShoWTimE, but look at the worker count. Down to 52. Lost 24 probes in the process. And Reynor's remaxing, this time with Corruptors. Meanwhile, ShoWTimE is still struggling to max out himself. Again, ShoWTimE has been losing a lot, and usually this would be okay for ShoWTimE if he had a 5th. That's the problem. He needs a 5th base. Needs another Nexus. Once again, as ShoWTimE moves out, the Lings, they move in. They're going for the base. Speaking of needing another Nexus, yeah, this base is going to be going down, and ShoWTimE is completely all in. The Corruptors come in from the right-hand side. They pick off 1 of those carriers. And they're going to get a 2nd carrier as well. Big pickoffs. And ShoWTimE is completely all in. Losing 2 carriers, a rough start. But he cleans up all the lurkers. Oh my, he just mows his way through them. My god. How many lurkers do we have left? 1. We have 5 lurkers morphing in here towards the south. Big abductions here on the carriers. We get one. We get up. What on us? Barely we don't. But the lurkers are finishing. Zealot's going to be going down. The Archon does overextend. And we get another Archon as well. Every unit counts here. ShoWTimE bleeding out a little bit too much, but he does break the natural. Pushing into the main, he can always recall back home. Bear that in mind. 3 base versus the 5 bases here of Reynor, but Reynor doesn't have efficient mining. And we're getting a lot of tech in the main. That's going to be the Hive going down. The Spire, the Lurker Den. Can ShoWTimE pull this off? We're still amassing more Lurkers. Additional Lurkers are on the way. Reynor still has a terrifying army. He's waiting for the army to push down the ramp. The High Templar! No! They lead the charge! No! Oh my god. Brutal connections. How many High Templar was that? 11 High Templar going down already, and these are so softened up. Okay, that was what, 2 or 3 High Templar going down without getting a single spell off. You can see ShoWTimE trying to drop, but I feel like a recall is the only way out. Like, we're stuck. And depending on stacking, we may not be able to recall everything. You can see Reynor, he has to rebuild his spawning pool. He has to rebuild a lot of tech. ShoWTimE back at home taking his 3rd. We get 1 recall off, but another half of the army is stuck. Now is the opportunity for Reynor, but he has to be careful because we have a lot of storms. If he tries to push up this ramp, then it's going to be a meat grinder as well. Now the question becomes, where does ShoWTimE go from here? Do we deny some of these fringe bases? Do we push through the center to try to break free this army? Reynor, how many lurkers? 17! 17! That's insane. I kind of like this from ShoWTimE. What's the answer? Just turtle. Just double expand, chill at home. Wait for the Zerg player to come to you. And hopefully get another recall. A 2nd recall here is so necessary to save that army. Do Forza cancel. We're still halfway there when it comes to that recall cooldown. And more lurkers in position. We can see Reynor, he's sharking around for us around. Big link counterattack as well. Ooh, Narcosis pylon depowering so much at the natural. Zealot run by is going to threaten the mineral line, but not much else. Still need a little bit more time to save this army. Okay, if ShoWTimE can recall this army back home, he can take a fight. Unironically, we can make something happen here, but looks like Reynor has other things in in store. Oh, we go for the recall. There we go. We do save everything just in time for the fight, for the potential fight. Reynor, he is sharking around. The spy shots. The Templar once again exposed. Ooh, 1 Eye Templar goes down. Big storms here covering everything though, and it looks like, do we have enough? We do. It looks like ShoWTimE, he takes the fight, cleans up the lurkers. We had 17, we're down to 9. Bearing in mind, that was only half of the lurker count of Reynor. He still has another 9 behind this. Do we have any storms left? We do not. But we will take out top right. Lurkers coming in from behind. Base is going to be going down. The lurkers up. Spine shot's going to be going off. We get 1 immortal. We get 1 more stalker as well. Every unit counts. An Archon going to be falling. ShoWTimE is losing too much. A High Templar as well. He's bleeding out far too much at this point, and it looks like Yeah, Reynor, he has done it. He's got better mining. He has been able to rebuild his tech. The Hydra Den, the Lurker Den. It was a good fight out of ShoWTimE, don't get us wrong, but... yeah, the final carrier falls. Lurkers pushing forward, forcing a fight. Where are the storms? Without them, we can't fight this. We have 1, 2 storms zoning back the army. GG gets called, and Reynor will swallow this up. We'll tap the series 1-1. We're going to the ace match. All the way. GG. GG, well played. We're going all the way to game number 3 here. It all comes down to the final game, to the ace match here between these two players. As a reminder, it's only a best of 3, not a best of 5. It is that much more brutal. And where do we end up on? What is our final map? It is going to be Site Delta. Let's go. Site Delta is up next. It is where it all ends. And yeah, essentially this game on hard lead, Reynor, as we mentioned at the time, he was able to very quickly and accurately recognize the playstyle of ShoWTimE, was able to recognize how defensive he was going to be as opposed to the previous game, and was able to just rush into Hydra Lurker Viper as quickly as possible. And yeah, with that, he was able to just out-tech his opponent essentially. He was able to stick with it eventually, he teched into Spire tech as well, don't get me wrong, but yeah, for the most part, Reynor was able to get to that stage a lot faster and yeah, trade a lot better against ShoWTimE. Just pull him apart left and right with Nidus Worms, just run by his counterattacks. And here we go, we're loading in. You could hear those beeps. The final game of the series, the final game of the qualifier. Let's go, it all ends here on Site Delta. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the blue Protoss player representing Berlin International Gaming. Ooh, being forced into the ace match, it is ShoWTimE. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Italian Zerg player representing Basilisk. Forcing that ace match, it is Reynor. We have all the way back, all the way. Sorry, I was just a little bit distracted. Apparently today is April Fool's Day in Latino America. I didn't know that, but apparently there's some StarCraft news coming out, kind of. But for now, we're settling into this, and it's going to be a hatch gas pool opener out of Reynor. This time, not going for a 15-15. Interesting. So things are going to be looking a little bit more awkward for him. I'm curious if ShoWTimE is willing to take advantage of this and to go for a Twilight Council opener. For now, yet to be determined. ShoWTimE just going for a gate expand into the Cyber Core. Standard stuff from ShoWTimE. Standard opener out of Reynor. Where are you taking us? Where are we headed? Again, we have seen 2 different variations from ShoWTimE so far. Both games he went for triple Oracle into a third into charge. This is true. But if you remember, in game 1, he didn't go for any Immortal production, went for a War Prism straight into a +1 timing. In game number 2, instead of going for a +1 timing, +1 came and went, and ShoWTimE just went for charge, double Robo Immortal production into a 4th base. A much more defensive, passive style on hard lead. Even though the openers were the same, the kind of end goal there was different. The destination was different for ShoWTimE. So we'll see what kind of direction he takes us in this time. Will we see that more aggressive style from game 1, something more defensive from game 2, or something entirely different? As for now, it is going to be that Stargate opener out of ShoWTimE. Adept's going to be threatening a shade, getting eyes on the third base timing, and so with this Adept, our goal here is to keep an eye on gases. Just make sure that there's no fast lair, no fast Evo chamber. Make sure that we're a little bit more aware of what's going on. As we ease into our game. Likewise, we have the Oracle first, as to be expected. ShoWTimE isn't really one to dabble too much into like a Void Ray first opener or a Phoenix first. It's not really his playstyle, not really his MO. Not in current meta, at least. As we should soon be looking to expand and soon be hitting the field with those Oracles. Meanwhile, Reynor are going to be a little bit more proactive this time, being going to be moving out with those Lings, gets eyes on the would-be third, and is going to be threatening that third base. As he does pull back, but does kind of force ShoWTimE to stay back for a little bit longer. Waiting for that second Oracle before we move out. Now we're going. Send it. Focus on pushing on the right. Reynor getting fully saturated here on 2 bases, working on his third. Queens are on the way. And, oh, we have our follow-up. Before we can get into that, though, we get a couple of drone kills, but, oh, that's a lot of hull damage already to one of those Oracles. You have to be very wary with it. It's very careful. We got 3 drones so far. Get a 4th. And what I was mentioning... Oh, no! Oh, as ShoWTimE, a little bit of a misjudgment, a little bit of miscontrol there from ShoWTimE. Does end up losing that Oracle. But our follow-up... We mentioned at the start of the series, and I feel a little bit more vindicated. I was talking about how ShoWTimE's kind of go-to playstyle is a delayed Twilight Council. That's exactly what we have here. A Robo first, into a Forge, into some gateways, into a delayed Twilight Council. This is a very tech-heavy style. It's to get into early Immortal production, early +1. We delay, charge, and blink because we don't need it, because we're not going to be active, because we're going to be defending back at home. So it's, again, a very tech-heavy style. From ShoWTimE, he's very fond of it, and he does usually whip this out at some point in a best-of series. And he's doing it here in the Ace match. Again, it's his comfort zone more than anything. Now, the downside, of course, is that it takes a while for you to actually have a presence on the map. That is true. You are heavily reliant on your Oracles to harass and on your Adepts to harass as well, to try to keep your opponent in check. As now we have the Twilight Council on the way. Again, for delayed upgrades, delayed charge, delayed blink, all that stuff. ShoWTimE is just building himself up on 3 bases and soon to be taking a 4th. Meanwhile, Reynor going to be responding with some tech of his own, going for Spire. I mean, Mutaplay can be quite effective in ZvP. It can be risky just because if it gets scouted, it can be pretty easily shut down with Phoenixes, Static Defense, Blink Stalkers. But so far, it's unscouted, so there's potential. There's potential for these mutants. Likewise, we can see ShoWTimE taking his 4th now working towards Charge, Blink, Temple Archives, Archons, Gateway Explosion. I spoke about it before, the main army can't really be active, so that's why we made this Warp Prison, that's why we're harassing with Adepts. This is like the only way that we really can harass at the moment. And ShoWTimE is understanding as well that it's very important that you're able to keep your Zerg opponent in check and make sure that they aren't able to drone too freely, otherwise things will very quickly escalate out of control in favor of the Zerg. So again, just being as active as possible. His Adepts do one-shot workers, there we go, 1 drone going down, a 2nd drone as well. 3 workers for 2 adepts. Not a bad trade. Not bad. What I'm concerned about, though, is that the Spire still has not been scouted. Yes, Spire has not been seen. These mutants are going to be a bit of a surprise. Now, we are not over-investing into them. We are still getting roach speed and +1 range. So mutants will be more of a harassing unit than a unit that we're going to be massing too much. Yeah, 11 mutants. I mean, to be fair, 11 mutants is pretty threatening, don't get me wrong, but immediately Hive is on the way and a Hydra Den. Clearly, we're working on the next step. Clearly, we're working towards Hydra Lurker Viper. It's an interesting way to get there just because mutants are very gas intensive, so this is actually delaying a lot of the tech that Reynor would have otherwise had. Here we go, the Mutants dance between the bases. So far we're forcing an investment into these Phoenixes. And we're getting 3 pros, but not much else yet. Meanwhile, Reynor amassing his army right outside the front door of ShoWTimE. The Mutants trying their best to distract. There's that Lunker Den on the way that we spoke about. Hive already done. Before that can happen, we're diving on top of the main army! Up! One Archon goes down almost instantly. Yeah, the Prism isn't here. The Immortals are doing a lot of damage, but we do get on top of 2 more as well. 2 Immortals go down, and can we break through? It looks like we barely cannot. That's a good trade nonetheless for Reynor. Again, ideally as a Zerg player, you want to get rid of these roaches. And how best to do it than just to trade with Immortals? Looking at the units lost tab here, it was two Immortals and 2 Archons for 11 roaches. Well worth it, especially considering that we're remaxing with Ling Hydra. Roaches, they've served their purpose, and we're diving on top of another Immortal! We get 1 more! Oh my god. And can we get another? I mean, that Immortal looking a little bit vulnerable, but no, we are going to back up. No, no, not again! Another Immortal survives, actually! Doesn't go down. I can't say the same about that Archon, unfortunately. As Reynor's reinforcing with Lings, Hydras, and Roaches. And as we distract the main army, the Lings, they flood in! They get us around, they get on top of another Immortal. Otherwise, we save it! We lift our own Immortal to save it. Let's go. We'll keep it alive. Just barely. Meanwhile, Reynor is just still amassing his army, getting into lurker production. Because the Immortal count is so low, because we've been sniping them over and over and over again, ShoWTimE isn't really ready for lurkers. Immortals can be a pretty decent unit against them, but we don't really have too much to work with. And here we go, Reynor going for potentially the kill move. Looking to take the series, looking to end the game. Lurkers are going to be able to siege up behind this. Additional Lunkers on the way. We are running out of steam. We're running out of Hydras. But the Queens are pushing forward. Clutch Transfuse as well. And ShoWTimE is holding. Doesn't lose much of his economy at all. We're building up 2 Immortals at a time. Reynor has to be careful. Spine Shot's going to be going off. Big revelation here on these lurkers. As ShoWTimE tries to get on top of them, but here come the reinforcements, and it looks like this position will not be broken. And now Reynor, he's looking to snowball out of control. Catches an Immortal. Now there's only 4 left. There's only 5 left. But yeah, it looks like there's just far too much here. Reynor, he's snowballing out of control as he wedges himself in between the bases, and Reynor will barely come through. He takes it in the end after a very, very long series here. Went the distance, went to the ace match, and Reynor will be taking the series 2-1, qualifying for Masters Coliseum. GG. GG, well played. He made it, Poppy, he made it. GG. Congratulations to Reynor here. He almost was disqualified from the qualifier. Like, to wind it back, it took an hour for Reynor to get his internet back up and running. We almost got the walkover over Reynor earlier in the semifinals, but he made it, and it wasn't an easy run from him. It was not easy at all, as we switch our scenes over and have a look at the brackets. Reynor, he went to the ace match against Wayne. Even in game 3 against Wayne, if you remember, Wayne was ahead. He was ahead, he had a big advantage, and then Reynor forced out a late, like a 25-minute late game ZvZ with like Viper versus Viper, Lurker versus Lurker. And Reynor was able to gain efficiency over time and able to out-trade Wayne. And even here against ShoWTimE, went all the way to the ace match as well. What I will say here is that once again, Reynor did a really great job at identifying how defensive his opponent was being and just taking up so quickly into hive tech, into lurkers. For those that are curious, this is something that usually you can't really do unless your opponent is being defensive and tech heavy, which is exactly what ShoWTimE was doing. So just a really good way to abuse that, really good way to take advantage of that. It can be risky, don't get me wrong, especially if your opponent is being more aggressive and decides to hit a timing before you get into your lurker production, but Reynor, he was able to identify when he could and couldn't get away with it, and GG, well played in the end. Congratulations to Reynor, my condolences to all of our fallen players here. To all of our fallen players, as we very quickly are going to be going over the event itself. Let's go. Let us go. Sorry, I'm just... does that work? Oh wait, I just realized. Not really. There we go, there we go. That's what I was waiting for. Okay, so Reynor is gonna be our final player to qualify for Masters Coliseum. It's been a pretty intense week of StarCraft. Whew. And we have our final players. Let's quickly head on over here to the main event. Scrolling on down, here we go. We have our final list of players that are a part of this tournament of Masters Coliseum number 7. It is going to be Hero, MaxPax, Classic, Firefly, and Trigger representing the Protoss race, alongside Bunny, Bjorn, Clem, Cure, Maru, and Oliveira for Terran, and Dark, Cyril, Shin, Solar, and Reynor for Zerg. Here we go. Okay, quite a stacked bracket here. Unfortunately, we are missing some players when we think of like the best of the best. We mentioned it earlier. I mean, even here, ShoWTimE won't be a part of this. He barely did not make the cut, as we just saw. ShoWTimE won't be a part of this. Players like a Laser, Lambo, like the other top tier Europeans, unfortunately will not be able to take part in this event. But you know, we still got the best of Zergs, Protoss, and Terran of Europe here in Clem, MaxPax, Cyril, and Reynor. So the quality is definitely there, alongside even some NA players. We covered the Americas qualifier yesterday, sorry, 2 days ago. If you weren't there for it, Trigger qualified. Trigger qualified over Australia. It was a PvP qualifying match, went to the ace match as well, and Trigger was able to overcome and overpower the reigning ESL Masters Americas champion. So really cool stuff to see him take down Australia. I mean, it's a PvP, so I mean, you know, it happens. You know, it's back and forth. It's a little bit unpredictable. It makes sense. But Trigger did cause that upset. Likewise, Firefly was the king of Asia, of course. I mean, we saw that coming a mile away. Firefly has been on fire this year. Is going to be repping the Asia regionals. And then we had Classic qualifying for Korea. That's another big one, is that the Korean qualifiers were brutal. Classic made it through, and he made it through over DRG and Gumiho. Gumiho did not, or Gumiho will not be a part of this, as Gumiho failed to qualify through the Korean qualifiers. Creator is the other big one. Creator did fail as, did not qualify either. So yeah, again, these qualifiers were brutal. One spot for each region, alongside all of the invited players as well. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a lot of fun. For those that are curious, I believe the event is going to be starting January 13th. as we scroll up a little bit here, and yep, January 13th. So 2 weeks away. In 2 weeks, we will commence Masters Coliseum 7. It will be upon us. So yeah, it's going to be a great month full of StarCraft. Masters Coliseum is going to be brutal. It's going to be a brutal event just because it is a round-robin group stage first, and then it's going to be the playoff bracket. And the playoff bracket is double elimination, so a lot of matches, a lot of games are going to be had. Quickly going over it here. You can see here, the group stage, it's one big group. Last season in Masters Coliseum 6, it was 4 groups of players. Here it looks like one big group where 16 players come in and 8 players will make it into the playoff bracket. So that's I believe it's Swiss format. So it's gonna be a lot of games. It's gonna be a very interesting format here for Masters Coliseum. And then that leads into the top 8, which is the double elimination playoff bracket here towards the end. So yeah, and obviously every single match is going to be casted. Every single match will be casted, and we will do our best to cast all these matches as well. I say we'll do our best. January is going to be quite busy for us, so depending on the events, some things will be prioritized, other things won't be. So Masters Coliseum is open to all casters or all community casters, so we're going to be covering this whenever we can. But there might be some days where we have some other commitments to some other events that will take priority. So we'll see what happens once we get the schedule locked in, because it looks like, oh yeah, we do have the dates already set up, at least for the playoff bracket. It looks like the dates have been set. I think the group stage matches, have they been set as well? They have been set as well. So we have dates and times for everything. So yeah, we'll be giving you some updates soon as to what we can and what we won't be covering. A full month of StarCraft, essentially. 13th of January all the way up to like the 28th of January. It's a big month. So a lot of StarCraft, a lot of StarCraft. With that, thank you so much everyone for watching. Thanks so much everyone for the support as well. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves. I apologize for being a little bit low energy, especially towards the end, towards like the semifinals. Yeah, I just didn't get to sleep too much, and I've been struggling as a result. I've been very, very tired, and I was actually, yeah, just, you know, trying to maintain my awakeness. I was trying. So we made it in the end. We made it. I'll try to get my sleep sorted. I'll try and get some rest. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for the support. We'll see you guys tomorrow for our next broadcast. Actually, let me double check. Let me just quickly double check here. We'll see. Technically, we could have tomorrow off. The 29th of January. We don't have anything scheduled yet, but I am supposed to do a replay cast of ESL Open Cup Americas. So I'll check if I have the replays. If so, we're going to have a replay cast. Otherwise, tomorrow may be our day off. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. Oh, I should update this. Bam, there we go. Should also get those predictions paid out as well. And with that, we'll see you guys tomorrow with some more StarCraft. Till then, hasta luego. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye. Get some rest. Get some sleep. It's 3 a.m. I was getting tired at midnight. I was getting tired at 12. It's 3 a.m. Oh my god. Buenas noches. Hasta luego.